So my name is Christy Williams. I'm the town manager. And we're really happy to have you all here today to participate in our public input session related to the community center. As most of you know, we purchased the old Boston Sports Club building, which you can see up here, for the purpose of creating a community center that will include the recreation department as well as the senior center. So we have with us today, we have our owner's project manager in the back here, and then we also have the architects on the project up here. And so what the select board and the town has committed to in this process is to really hear from the community to understand exactly what you would be looking for in this building. And so this is the first public meeting where we're getting those inputs. There will also be a meeting tonight at 6 o'clock. And then on August 5th, there's an opportunity for a full remote meeting that you could do virtually. In addition, we have put out a survey so that we can gather feedback on what might go into the community center. So there is an online survey, or you can, at the senior center here, and also the library, there are paper copies that can be filled out and submitted. So even though you're participating in this meeting, please also feel free to give us your feedback on the survey. And I think we have some copies here that we can pass out or have available at the end of the meeting. Oh, there's also some in the back. Okay. So with that, I think I'm going to introduce our architects, Joel and Nancy. Thank you.
I just want to introduce the project and then what we're looking for, and then we'll open it up for hearing your vision of what the senior center is to be. I have a whole bunch of slides that we can show of what other people have done, if that helps prime the pump, but I wasn't going to show those up front. I was going to sort of see if you had some ideas. The programming is a little bit like this picture. This is a picture of the building coming down Union Avenue. The old entry to the Steinmark was this door right here. Boston Sports Club entry was on the far corner. So as Christy mentioned, there's 2 floors to the building. The senior center is on this level. I put this in black and white for a reason. When we were little, people had black and white photographs and no one said, I want something different. They didn't say, I want iPhones with colored photographs on them. It's sometimes hard to figure out what programming is, but that's sort of what you really need to do. You have to think about what's the next generation of this space, not just, hey, I love my black and white photographs, these are just fine. There's maybe something color. What's really great about the building is you can come down Union Street, and here's the building at the end where the red circle is. But there's a whole lot of other ways to get through from Brigham Street, and then from, I think it's called Wyatt Street up on the top. It's not clear on the maps what that access road is called, but 3 good ways to get into the building, and there's plenty of parking. Here's the building. There's plenty of parking around the building. This is the Boston Sports Club old entry. That's sort of a good landmark to keep in mind. So those are the 2 prominent portions of the building that really make sense to say entry if you want to have entries. And one of the things that we'll be doing in the next 2-3 weeks is exploring this building. There's 3 times the square footage on the ground floor is in this particular building. So there's a lot of space. We'll have to figure out how to use it. But where's the entry to these buildings? Do you share with the recreation and have one common entry that's one controlled entry? Is there a separate senior entry and a separate recreation entry? Those kinds of things we'll be studying and presenting to you so you can see what it looks like, how it works, and make the right decision for you. You wouldn't think that that's space for a senior center, but this is the first floor of the space, and it's actually quite nice. It's 20 feet tall when you get rid of that ceiling, so you can have similar height spaces that you have here, which is, this is a nice ceiling height. You can have even higher. The columns are really widely spaced apart, much wider than in this building. And it's a big space for 30,000 square feet on this floor, so we can figure out how to optimize that space. The second floor happens to be already built out, so there's less work that needs to be done. On the first floor, there's nothing there. So the senior centers have a blank tablet to work with.
Question.
So what we're here to do today with Nancy is to hear what you might think about entry into the building, and then what types of programs and what kind of a senior center you might think of or you might envision for the town of Westborough. And I'll say, you know, think about where senior centers were 20, 25 years ago. They're quite a bit different than where they're at today. Today we're delivering a lot more services. We have veterans in them, we have health departments, the programs have expanded. They're really valuable assets to a community. They're just not places to go and have a cup of coffee, they're an asset. There's another 25, 50, you do a renovation like this, it's up there for another 50 to 100 years. Those buildings aren't going away, so let's do this right is our motto, and let's try to think about, you know, what we learned in this building that works and doesn't work. So, ideas, how do you collaborate with spaces? What's the roadmap to help us go to the next stage of design? That's what we're looking for from you. And one more point about programming is you can say that you want a space, so I use bad term, hangout space. But there's more that you can say about that space, and the more you can say about something that you want, the better it is for us, because that's what adds the richness and the texture to a multi-purpose room, to an art room. We can show you all sorts of art rooms and how different they can be from town to town. So an example is, we were set up for a dinner tonight, which sort of makes it difficult to have theater seating today for this meeting. Oftentimes, senior centers have their multi-purpose room half set up for the breakfast meal and the lunch, congregate lunch, etc. And it works, but then half the time your wonderful multi-purpose room is occupied by dining tables, and you can't set it up for a movie or a lecture, or you can't get set up for the evening presentation that you're having tonight. So, programming is saying, well, I want congregate dining, but that next level of programming is saying, I don't want to steal my multi-purpose room with the congregate dining. I'd really like to have my congregate dining be like a cafe with outdoor spaces, counter space to bring my meal in, but I'm not taking up the multi-purpose room. I think, quite frankly, if that's done well, that's more fun to sit in than a multi-purpose room anyway. So that's the guide of what we're looking for today. And I don't know if that helps to prime the pump of conversation, but the last thing I want to say, at some point we're going to have to get in front of town meeting. You're going to have to get in front of town meeting. And what we really like to do is point out how valuable a senior center is to a community, even if you're not a senior or even if you're not using it today. And a lot of seniors say, I don't use a senior center. That doesn't mean it doesn't have value to a community. The fact that you use it or not is somewhat irrelevant to the fact that others may use it and find real benefit. So what we really need to think as we go forward is, you know, how to explain what is really essential about the Westborough building that we're planning in these outreach meetings, and make that apparent to the voters that have to fund the project through a town meeting vote. So with that, I can show more slides, but I'd love to hear any questions, and I think Christy has a microphone that we can pass around. So if anybody wants to volunteer to be number one and say, what kind of space do you really think needs to be there and what it would feel like? Yes, sir.
There was a question before that, just asking if you could point out where the pool is located.
Yes, with the plane from the first floor, up low. Can you show? Yeah.
The pool is on the second floor.
Above what? Of the first floor?
What's below it?
I think
It's right here on that side of the building. So it's above, this is a 30,000 square foot box, so that's all senior center on the first floor. But the bottom of the pool is only 4 foot deep. So it doesn't hang below the beams of the ceiling below. So it's not like you have a problem using that space in the senior center. You need 100% of the space.
Okay, that was my concern.
Yeah, that was ours concern too, and we measured that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you've talked about this, and you've done senior center and rec. The survey says multi-generational community center, all right? I, even as a senior, very much want this to be a community center. So I think one of the things that would help the senior center is the ability to have more interaction with the youth in this town. I mean, there's a lot of people who have grandchildren that are here, right? So, I don't like talking about this as two separate things. I would much prefer to see it really be a community where everybody is kind of together, because I think both groups would benefit from that.
Well, that's a great correction. Thank you. And I should have pointed that out. The beauty of this project is most communities build a senior center and then they have the rec department elsewhere. When you have the rec department, you're going to have a gym right next to the senior center for those folks that want to use a gym or use the exercise spaces. So you have access to a whole lot more of activities, and the recreation director is here. So if there are specific recreation activities that you want to have provided as an adjunct to the program, those are great to hear. And thank you for, I shouldn't have focused so much on the seniors. Being in the senior center was sort of on my mind. Thank you. Yeah.
Can you hear me? I'm wondering about a walking track, sort of like what they have at the Y in town, where it's suspended over other recreational space, so over one of the gyms. I mean, I don't know, how feasible it is, but I think everybody in the community, or a lot of people, certainly seniors, would want to use walking space. I know that when I was a member of the Y, there were people who just were members to use the walking space.
There's two ways to think about that. One is the ceiling height is high enough. When you have a walking track, you only need 7'6" of ceiling height. You don't need all the office space stuff. So it's possible to get a walking track above some space on this floor that might be appropriate. Because again, there's more space than we need on that floor. So we're looking at that as an option. And there's possibility of getting on the second floor as well. You're right, I don't have the results for the Westborough survey, but every other survey we put out is walking tracks the number one desire of folks in communities.
I would like to say I'm not comfortable with having shared space with other generations. I do not want to have a place where there's old teenagers and little kids running around. I enjoy coming here because it is just solely for the seniors, people our age, people who are moving at the same rate of speed. If you put something down, it's not gonna, if you put a jigsaw puzzle down, you're not going to, on the weekends, have kids running in and playing with the jigsaw puzzle and all the pieces are gone. I think that there are a lot of facilities in the town that are multi-generational, and you can get together with your grandchildren or anyone, neighbors, anyone that you like, you can go to the library, there's lots of places that you can go. I think it's important that there is at least one place in the town that is a quiet, safe haven just for seniors without having to share that space with other generations.
So I will say that one of the challenges of community design is not to say no, and it doesn't mean that what this gentleman said and what you said are mutually exclusive. Maybe the shared spaces are part of the recreation zone and not part of the senior zone. So I think it's a good, for folks to be positive about all the comments and then figure out how we can make something out of them.
I just wanted to add that a lot of you participated a year or so ago in a senior needs assessment, and one of the outcomes of that was similar to what you were just describing, that we heard from seniors that while they're okay with a multi-generational center, that they wanted some dedicated senior space, and I just want to be clear that that assessment was also shared with the architects.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know your name, but I'm in total agreement. One of the things when this was decided that it was going to be a community center, I thought, well, I'm not so sure about that. I like a dedicated senior center. So if it's going to be a community center, that's fine, so long as there's a dedicated senior center within that community. And as far as what I would like to see in the senior center, a stage. If we have performers here, they're on the same level as the audience seated, and it's very hard sometimes to see whatever is going on. It can either be a permanent stage if we're having one main room, or like a fold-away bed where you can pull it down when you need it, or you can have that floor space when you don't. But I'm also the entertainment next Tuesday night up here, and I would love it if there was a stage. So I'm speaking as someone who would like to see that for obvious reasons.
Have you decided how much space will be for the senior center? At first I heard it was going to be the whole first floor, and then I heard that there will be offices, and has that been fixed yet?
It hasn't been fixed, but what this process is doing is trying to figure out what folks want and how much floor area that takes up. Whether that takes up the whole floor or not remains to be seen, but if it doesn't take up the whole floor, then there may be other uses. The floor is, as I mentioned, 30,000 some square feet, so it's quite large. So to put that into perspective, the other thing that we'll be doing as part of this exercise is saying, well, here's what you can do with different thresholds of money. How much you want to spend on the building and the fit out. So that may also come into play along the way. What's the affordable budget for building it, and then you may get bigger or larger depending on that. So there are a couple of variables, and we'll be exploring all of that in the next month and into September.
Do you want to show the auditorium?
Pardon me?
Do you want to show the auditorium?
You mean the breakdown of 20?
Yeah, do you want to just show them that?
Well, on the way there, I put this in because last week we had a meeting, and they said, if you have a game room, we want it behind glass so that you can close the ping pong in the pool and not hear it, and you can have the cards separate from the pool table. So I wanted to put that in. I'm sorry. Here's a couple of this is, in Andover, they have the youth center right next to the senior center, and they share some of the spaces, the gym in this particular room. So this is they also have a room like this in the senior center, but then they share this multi-purpose room that has a higher ceiling, has lights, so it can be used with the stage, which is there, to perform. It can be used for wrestling. It can be used for any kind of use you can imagine needing a high multi-purpose. So it's really a functional multi-purpose room that can have Westborough TV set up for broadcasting and everything. That would be a perfect use in this building because you have the high ceiling and you have this space in the building. There's a project in Kittery, Maine, which is quite a small town, and they wanted a theater, like you said, with a stage. They took their multi-purpose room and put the bleachers at the back, and they collapsed flat against the wall, so they're about 2 feet thick when they're not down. And then when you want to have a performance, the stage goes up and the tiered seating is set up, and you can do whatever you want. So some of the things that might go into this program are additional spaces that you may not see in a typical senior center. Yes, ma'am.
But I thought that the recreation area was already upstairs.
The recreation is upstairs, that's correct. Yeah.
I thought that the recreation area was already there upstairs, so that as far as using some of the space so that there could be that kind of sports thing going on, it's already available upstairs.
Well, that was just one example of when you do a multi-purpose room, the uses are limitless. So that's what you're.
Well, I consider this room that we're in now a multi-purpose room, and my idea was, and I'm not a designer or anything, but that there would be rooms off to the side that would accommodate the different daily activities that you have, so that instead of having a group back here and this curtain pulled and something going on here where you've got, the noise of one thing interfering with the noise of another, we'd avoid that because there would be separate rooms off to the side. Now, that's my thinking, but.
Well, your thinking is exactly right. The main multi-purpose room will have a soundproof partition that's electrically operated, so if someone doesn't have to take it across the floor, that divides the main room in half. That's sort of the basic. This is a way to use some of the other space that's on the ground floor. Put it in perspective. Falmouth is 30,000 folks with 14,000 seniors. Their senior center is 15,000 square feet, brand new. That 30,000 square foot is big, and we have a lot of uses that you can use to really make a great program for yourself.
Still thinking.
Oh, I'm just going to mention a few of the nitty-gritty things that we have here. As you can see, we have a lack of storage. We have chairs and tables, and behind those walls, we keep supplies for meals and for other programs and decorations. And when we have a fair here in the fall, we have all kinds of things that need to be stored. I think storage in restrooms, particularly for the elderly, are absolutely necessary, that you need to include that in your planning purposes.
You said storage in the restrooms?
And storage.
And restroom. Okay, so, and you get to the restroom.
We have limited restroom facilities.
I know, and so that's a great, really scintillating topic to talk about, but it's important.
I know, it is, particularly as people.
I want to ask, do you want, I got to find it, I have a picture. What kind of a restroom are we looking at in
We're looking at something that's
Newton?
ADA compliant.
For Newton and Sudbury, they don't have every restroom is a private bathroom, one person. So we have, Yeah.
all of them are the same.
All of them are accessible, all of them are one person, we call it, they're either companion or gender neutral or whatever. Some other places have common bathrooms where you open the door and there are 4 stalls in them. Usually there's one accessible stall for someone that may be in a wheelchair or a walker, and the other stalls aren't accessible, so they're not so great. So, that, not a great fun topic to talk about, but it's important because very different kind of space use in the building if you have the individual versus the, what we call gang restrooms.
So does anybody have thoughts on that in this, what they want to share at this meeting or about the restroom preference? Oh, lots of hands.
I don't know why they can't put the bars in every bathroom for seniors, because that balance is very often an issue. And the balance, if you're hanging on to the toilet paper roll, sometimes.
Yeah.
I just think they should think more about our needs
Okay.
in that respect.
I was just thinking that, the bigger with all the stalls would be better if there was a performance, and there's a lot of people here. It might go faster, you know what I mean? There wouldn't be such a line. So that's, I think, a benefit for that. I had a question about the elevator.
Yep.
Are you gonna make it bigger? I mean, because to use the pool, it's upstairs. So are you thinking of, it's a very small elevator, right? I don't know, just a thought.
We're looking, one of the things we'll be looking at will be to put a second elevator in the building that would be bigger, and then we'll be able to present that, and folks can determine if that's within the budget capability or not. So we'll look at that. The pools I think is going to be potentially attractive because the way it's constructed, we can actually make it a little bit shallower, and then it would be perfect for water aerobics and training of life safety swimming and kids swim lessons. So it would be, I think, a little bit more usable than it is in its current configuration. You can also get the water temperature a little bit higher and you have less water to heat, so good point. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to add a voice in support of segregation of rooms. One of the reasons I stopped coming here is there's always something going on, and if there's classes, the noise spill over. The pool tables, I don't know if anyone ever gets to use them because there are things going on there. So different rooms for different functions, as well as some common area, I think would be helpful for the youth facility.
Okay.
I have 3 questions, I think. Sure. Thank you, Christy. The bathrooms, there are 2 bathrooms here. One is a handicap bathroom just for one person, and other people use it. So handicap, some people are relying a lot of the time. The other one has no handicap bathroom in it. So I would, if you're planning on more than one bathroom, I think you should put a handicap bathroom sink and all in each one of the bathrooms, so that nobody takes up the one handicap bathroom. The other question I have, will the senior center area be locked so no one else can enter it or use it?
Will the senior center be locked, is that what you're saying?
Yes. I mean, this building sometimes is used for other affairs, so will it be the same way? And I still have one more question.
I can probably answer that. So I think we anticipate similarly using the building, that there'll be community use of the building, just like there is in this building. But certainly things that need to be locked up would absolutely be locked up.
Okay, so all of these fixtures, these closets and all, will need to be locked because we've had the supporters have lost stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
think that's good feedback that storage areas we would want to be locked up.
Yes.
Yep.
And like maybe Christie, you will be able to answer this. The last time I checked, a few years back, there were 200 more seniors than there were children in the schools. There's only one senior center in how many, 5 schools? Okay, we share. We'd like to, I agree with some of the other people about being for the seniors, a senior center. I mean, the other floors can be used for, but I would like to have the area designated for the senior center be used by seniors. Thank you.
Well, I will, if you have Max at home, I'll recommend that you go to Curb Your Enthusiasm, the Larry David show, and watch the episode where he uses the handicap bathroom. And what happens? It's hilarious, but it's exactly what you're saying. When there's a handicap bathroom and you're trying to use it and someone else is using it. The problem is that the sign usually has a little man or a woman, and then it has a wheelchair next to it, so it implies.
Nobody cares about that.
Yeah, but it's.
Except the handicapped person.
It's a good comment. It's a funny, hard thing to deal with, but, okay. Yes, ma'am.
I had a few comments. One was that if the recreation center has a separate entranceway from the senior center, I'm assuming there would be connecting corridors or doors between both of them that could be shared, but even if there is, I think special care has to be made to recognize that a lot of our elderly seniors may have mobility problems, and so even if there is a connection into the rec area, they may not physically be able to get to whatever is being offered in the rec area. The second thing I wanted to say is with regard to a track, it would probably come more under programming, but I know that I would not care to see an elderly person walking on a track with a 12-year-old running by them unless they're very designated, alleys or whatever you would call them. The third thing I'd like to say is with regard to the theater, I noticed that instead of raising a stage for the performers to be on, you've left the performers on the main floor and raised the seating, which seems to make sense until I think to myself, a lot of elderly seniors may have mobility problems and walking up bleacher stairs is very difficult. And the second thing about that is, I know that you said that the seating would be collapsible, which also makes me think we're talking about bench seating, and I'm not sure that our senior citizens...
No, they're theater seats.
They are theater seats that collapse up into the wall.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And the last thing is for changing rooms at the pool. I have never been to that pool, so I don't know if they're communal changing rooms now or individuals, but I would support them being individual changing rooms.
There's a quite large family changing room already constructed that has 2 separate changing rooms in it, so there is exactly what you're looking for already there.
And I would just question whether 2 individual changing rooms is adequate if seniors are using this and would like to have individual ones. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
I haven't heard it mentioned yet, but I would assume that you put the food service preparation and service facilities on your list to be considered to support various size food functions.
It will be that's a kitchen. You're talking about kitchen, right?
Yeah, I missed the second part of your question.
I'm sorry?
She missed the second part.
No, it was all wrapped together. Food service facilities.
Do you want to expand what you think it should be? I mean, I can tell you what we've heard so far and what other folks do. You may have a concept to embellish that, though? Your thought, or you just want to hear it?
Bigger than we have now.
I just wanted to be certain that you had that on your list.
Yeah.
Clearly, we're not going to sit here and specify what kind of facilities you put in there, but with this building, it would be inconceivable not to support a various list of functions that require some kind of food service.
Yes. So there'll be typically, and what we've sort of talked about today, is a commercial kitchen that would be bigger than what you have, and what we generally built into that commercial kitchen is a separate alcove to put your Meals on Wheels assembly that and get that out to the cars to deliver, so that you can have a congregate meal going on with volunteers or whoever's making your meals in the main part of the kitchen, and then your Meals on Wheels aren't, there's no conflict of the space. One thing that we talked about, and I don't think has been settled, but in our experience, having a walk-in pantry and a walk-in cooler allows you to get grants from the state that are not available if you don't have a place to do bulk purchase and storage. So most of our facilities have a cold storage area. A lot of them have cold freezers that are quite large, and then you can go out and buy, 2 months worth of hamburger at a discount price and get a better deal on it, and the state will reimburse that. They don't want to be paying the maximum price.
That's good.
That's our experience. Now, you guys may have a different experience here. Yes, sir.
And coupled with that would be the ideal idea to locate that so that you could have a separate service entrance to it. Whether you're bringing in a service entrance.
Yes.
Whether you're going to have it catered or whether you're going to prepare your own, you don't want to be hauling that through the meeting space.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, I have a question. You showed on one of the slides and talked about for game rooms and things like that. I'm curious, is that something that is going to be done, or how are you going to divide things like that? I have a question because I play pool.
Yeah. So
I'm
right
here
now,
3 times a
we
week.
know you have 2 pool tables,
Yes.
and we know you're in a group.
We have tournaments and stuff here.
You need 2 pool tables. So the idea is that there would be a game room that would have 2 pool tables, it seems, and ping pong had come up as an option as well to consider, and that was. Then the third person suggested, well, it can be behind glass so you get the light in the air, but it's the noise of that.
Yep.
When someone cracks the opening shot, it's not so loud.
Is behind glass, and I think Hopkinton's might be behind glass too, as
Yeah.
well.
So that is something that we've heard about and on our list of things to accommodate.
Would it be something, maybe this is for you, will that be something that's only going to be for use of the seniors? Or are you going to open that to the recreation and have the tables get rolling by kids? I'm just putting it out there.
I think because they'll be in the building together and now recreation will have a space, they'll program, our recreation director and council on aging director will work together. At this point, I don't believe, and I'm looking for Alma, that anyone else uses those tables because they were purchased for the senior center. So
I just want to check and make sure.
yeah, I think that's a good concern to put on the table.
Because we use those for tournaments.
Yeah, there hasn't been any discussion that I'm aware of other folks using those, but that's good to put out that on the
Okay,
table.
thank you.
I'd say that one of the comments that you made about the teens and the little kids, sometimes they don't want any more to come to the senior center than you want to go to where they are. So oftentimes when we have a community center, we'll have 2 game rooms. The kids one looks a lot different than the senior billiards table. You wouldn't have a kindergarten look like a lab space for a senior in high school. And
I'd like to hear, while we're on this subject of the billiard room, the people that play pool, what else would you like to see?
Can't hear you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So, for the people who like to use the pool tables.
Hold it closer to your mouth.
Sorry. For the people who like to use the pool tables, what else would you like to see in the room with the pool tables if it is separate from everything else? Like seating, or would you want to have some card tables in there as well so other things can happen? Or do you, pool players prefer to have it just be pool?
Pool players prefer just pool.
Yes.
Yeah, a separate space with, yeah, I mean, we have these you know, the bars and chairs to sit up, be able to see what's going on, and you always have someone that officiates to make sure nobody's cheating.
Some chairs.
Or ruining the tables.
Or ruining the table, so, you know, like we have there, we have, you know, just the chairing and the equipment. That's what I think I've been to 5 different ones that we played at, and that's how they're all set up in their own rooms with just the tables, chairs to sit around the room for the equipment.
Terry, are those high chairs really important? I had never thought, I've seen the pool players, but I've never thought about it, but
I think-
that they're slightly higher so you can actually see.
Those were actually donated, but as a set, and when we have the 2 tables, we have one at each.
Yeah.
And someone will sit in that just to watch, because if, you know, you want to make sure the ball goes right.
Yeah.
And there's one person that watches each game to make sure if there's a foul.
Yeah.
So the
Interesting.
bigger chairs are
Yeah.
better
Okay.
for at least 2 to a table, you know, 1 per table.
Yeah. Excellent.
Right here.
I like the idea of a multi-purpose room for many activities in the town. It doesn't have to be available every night of the week, but I can't believe there aren't certain nights that could be locked down just for seniors and just for multi-town use. So I think that would be good. And just like this meeting, I recently went to the one on the trash process. I heard so many different opinions that I had never considered before. And like today, I just think hearing all these different sources of information really help the town become better. So I like the idea of many generations and many groups coming together in large venues, like a movie night or a meeting like this.
Yes, ma'am. Yep, Mike's coming.
One of the things that I heard today, and it also was
Can't hear you.
Louder. One of the things that I've heard multiple people say today, also came up a year ago, is when it was first talked about in the community center, I cannot tell you the number of people that have said that everything is going to go to the kids, and the seniors are going to be left out, and we really and truly have to concentrate that the seniors do have their own space. I think it's great that they're going to have kids at that building, and they need a space too where they can do their things. But we have to do it in such a way that both are recognized and both areas are respected, so that we can work together. And who knows, maybe there'll be some evenings that activities for both groups join together as a possibility. But there has to be a given place and the seniors aren't overwhelmed. This town does an awful lot of stuff for the kids, as it should. But as it was stated, we only have one senior center in town, and we have a lot of seniors, and we really do need to be recognized. We are big contributors to the town. The Women's Club has 118 women in it. The majority of them are seniors, and they do unbelievable things for this town. And so they also have to be recognized, and we have to be recognized for the contributions that we make to the town.
I think this is a great forum, and a lot of people have shared current ideas of what we had. And I'm hoping as this process goes on, and you provide some of it today with different slides showing us what other communities do. But I think we are, our own community, and sometimes we don't see outside of what others are benefiting from. And I not only mean that today, but Westborough has always provided for the future, and they look back at what hasn't been provided. We don't always get it right, But I think if you could provide, you and your team, what other communities have experienced that seniors, say 10 years ago or 15 years ago, didn't see what was coming ahead. Certainly in your expertise, you see what some things in the future, and I know that's not part of this meeting, but hopefully that comes so that we can get outside our own box if we need to, and we have ideas that you can share with us.
Well, I appreciate that. I was thinking that there's a forum coming up next week on Zoom, and as opposed to just repeating what we're doing this afternoon, I thought we might expand it a little bit and then use that as a way to show here's what some other communities have done. I just want to show one thing because we're getting some comments today, but that doesn't mean that the comment period ends Monday. We're hoping to be able to take this to town meeting in the fall. But even when you get to town meeting and the project's funded, then there's another full set of designs. So things can change along the way. And this is a perfect example of how things change. And just be open. The building was all designed and ready to go out to bid, and the seniors said, a group of them, said that they wanted a little greenhouse. I think it's a fantastic idea, something to do in the wintertime. And instead of saying no, one of the architects on the team found this company in California that makes standard redwood greenhouses, very inexpensive. They could buy it. They just leaned it up against the existing building, and they got what they wanted, and it wasn't too late. It was at the end of design. So keep thinking. You know, it's not the end today. If you don't get an idea, I'll tell anybody at the senior center, and they'll get that message back to us. But it's an ongoing process of getting this right, and that's the gentleman's right. We'll show some images of what other folks have done.
That's a great idea. We had it at our Mabry Drive Housing Authority, and the elderly that lived there took care of it. I think that's really a good idea.
I think it's a moneymaker too. That to me looks like
I have a
Westborough special.
I have a quick question, and maybe this could be an add-on to today's meeting, but I've been thinking to myself, I don't know what a rec department involves or includes, and so maybe after this is over, could someone speak to us and just say, currently the rec department is blank and we're thinking of blank?
Well, how about we do that right now? She's here.
Hi, I'm Jen Kirkland, the Recreation Director. Thank you for the question. I'll try to sum it up in about 2 minutes. But we're tasked with providing recreation services to, a lot of people think recreation, they think kids, but that's not necessarily true. We truly try to serve the entire public, so from babies all the way up through seniors. And currently right now, we don't have a space to offer activities and programs, which is why you might not see as many things for seniors, because we don't have our own space. We're limited to school space, which we can only use at night, basically. But we do the best we can. I don't know if any of you have frequented the pickleball courts on Lyman Street. We have dedicated senior time for pickleball. So we are tasked with providing services and activities for all ages. But currently, right now, we run a whole host of youth programs from STEM, chess, art, sports activities. We run a pretty robust basketball program, ski program. We also are tasked with maintaining a lot of the facilities in town. So any of the softball, baseball fields, soccer fields that you might see that aren't connected to the school, that falls under our jurisdiction, as well as the pickleball courts, tennis courts, things like that. We also have the golf course that's relatively new in the past couple of years that falls under our umbrella. And so over the summer too, we run a summer camp style program. So we do a lot. And with this building, like I said, I really hope my vision is to be able to continue doing what we do now by offering youth programs and things like that, but also really collaborating with the senior center and offering more senior programs. I looked and at the senior survey that was done last year, trying to be able to offer more exercise classes, speakers, adult education, things of that nature. Our rec commission is also very committed to the seniors, and they want to be able to program more and offer more when we're in this building. So I hope that's a good enough answer.
So in the building itself, do you also expect, like, there will be a space for a gym, a space for workout groups that are not senior related?
So on that second floor, there's another 30,000 square feet. So there is a basketball court, there's an exercise room that would be separate from the lower level where the anticipated senior center is going to be. And also the nice thing, and I don't want to generalize too much, but kids are in school most of the day. Kids tend to recreate at night and on the weekends. And in my findings, it seems that seniors tend to recreate more during the day. So there's already that natural separation. I'm not saying that seniors can't come out at night and do a night program. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I think some of that, there's already a natural separation that goes on for a good part of the year.
And you foresee that maybe there'll be a room for a mother and baby group, or parent and baby groups and things like that?
Absolutely, that's on my vision board, a parent and me group, you know, at different types of exercise classes for adults, toddler programs. You know, in our session, I kind of mentioned like having a soft play space for kids to kind of come and have mats to jump around on and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So that gentleman in the back asked about the kitchen, just figured I'd come back to that. Full commercial kitchen. Behind this white box is this storage room for a dry pantry, a cooler, freezer, a center counter for setting up meals, but also for cooking classes. And in that particular center, they bring high school kids in and do events with the seniors and high school kids in the kitchen. Then they have in the back here the Meals on Wheels setup, back door for deliveries, and the Meals on Wheels can go out the back way to the cars, not have to come out the front. And then here in the front of the kitchen is a snack bar. So underneath this counter is a display case, and volunteers will make cupcakes or muffins in the morning, and they'll sell those out with coffee for, you know, a small amount of money, but again, it helps generate some money keep the kitchen operational. So the kitchen has a lot of functions in it, and you know, when it's carefully designed, these are designed by professional kitchen designers, not architects. So. Let's see, who hasn't spoken?
Jack has one.
Oh, you have the microphone, why don't you go ahead and then...
You talked about the possibility at the virtual meeting showing pictures. My question is, do you have any information about senior centers that are community centers that we might be able to go look at and see for ourselves how they actually work and what they actually provide?
I think there are a couple around here that some folks have already visited. I think Marlborough was one that was attractive. Nancy, what was the other one?
Those are senior centers that we...
Oh, you're saying community centers?
Community centers.
Yeah. There's Sudbury. There's one in, I mean, community centers are a little bit new in Massachusetts, so it's an evolving trend. The ones that we've seen are not that close. There's one in Pembroke, there's one in Sandwich, there's one in Hyannis. So they're down on the Cape. They seem, once you build one, everybody else wants to do it, so it's gravitated there. Sudbury just finished their community center. The reason that they're popular is that when you put the two groups together, you save about 40% of your space, because you don't need to duplicate a lot of mechanical rooms and other things that are part of a larger building. So there's a real advantage to doing community center.
I just had a question on some of my friends, I believe, go over to the Northborough Senior Center.
Yep.
And they actually have a snack bar that you can eat at every day, have a
Yes.
different menu and things like that. Is that anything that's been thought of?
What you do is up to you. I mean, that's set up where you can do exactly what you're saying. Andover does that. I mean, they have a chef, but he's not paid for by the senior center. He's paid for by the people that buy the food that he makes for things besides their congregate meals and that. So I do think that we have to understand what the rules are about I don't know that you can have a full commercial facility because of the shopping center. Yes, ma'am.
Is community, in terms of what your firm does, is community center, is that your thing? And have you been directly involved in some of the other community centers, new ones in Massachusetts?
Well, we do community centers, senior centers, youth centers, that kind of social support space. And the community center is becoming a much more popular thing. The reason that it's slow to get here is that if you go to Missouri or Kansas or Colorado and you see those wonderful big community centers, 1 penny of the sales tax goes to the recreation fund, and they have to build these on a county-wide basis, and they're amazing. So we can learn a lot from them, but in Massachusetts we have small towns, and each town funds their own, and it comes out of property tax, so it's taken a longer time to get going here, but it's trending pretty wildly at the moment.
So you showed a slide up there of the garden area. Is our new building gonna have something like that? Because we have that little tiny one. We really can't do much without there, but I was wondering if the new building's gonna have one.
That's the purpose of this meeting. So if you want to have one, then
I
that's
do.
feedback. Yeah.
I made it last year. I didn't this year because I just.
Can we put a pool table in the greenhouse?
This question is probably more for the town manager. Is there a budget for all of this, and the things that we've talked about, are they within the budget? And are any property taxes? I've heard different stories about how much all of this will cost.
So once they do the design work, they'll come up with cost estimates, and that's what will be presented. Nothing has been appropriated by town meeting at this time, except for the money for the purchase of the building. We did note in our presentations that we do have some available funds that could be used to support seniors. We have another fund that is funded through property that we sell. So there's a few different opportunities for available funds that we can talk about, but we're waiting to get all of this feedback to understand what we're looking at. And the architects are charged with giving us multiple options so that we can look at that. And one of them is looking at price. Does anyone else want to add anything?
Thank you for doing this for us.
Thank you for your participation.
So I think it's really important to say that what Joel said, which is that this is not the last opportunity to give feedback. So when you go home and you think about it, or you might look at other senior centers, please give us additional feedback if you think of something, and you can do that through the survey, which again can be done on the town's website or in paper form here at the senior center. And you can also do that just by contacting my office in the town hall, because we're happy to forward all of your ideas onto the architect. Bill?
Tell your friends to watch it on Westborough TV. They can get the same input or get portions of yours.
Yep. And again, tonight at 6 o'clock, we'll have a similar session that you're welcome to come to that as well. And that's at the town hall.
We have dinner here tonight.
Oh, sorry.
We're not all going to that.
Yeah, we'd like to thank you for your time in doing this for us.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you.